Transmission lines, line constants, series on transmission line theory, lecture number 1.20. Transmission lines are multi-conductor systems. They are passive systems. To model them, to characterize them, certain electrical parameters are used. These are called line constants. Two types of line constants are there. One set is called primary constants. Other set is called secondary constants. In the present session, our focus is on the detailed study of these two sets of constants and also the interconnection between them. As already mentioned, line constants are two types, primary. Under primary, RLGC. R stands for resistance, L stands for inductance, G stands for conductance, and C stands for capacitance of the line. These are four. Secondary constants under this category, Z0, characteristic impedance, and gamma. It is propagation constant of the line. These two fall under the category of secondary constants. The parameters RLGC, there is a name for them. They are primary constants. These are distributed parameters. These are distributed over the length of the line. That's why they are distributed parameters. Various aspects that influence values of these primary constants are number, size, shape, conductivity, spacing, orientation of conductors in the line, and also the nature of insulator which separates the conductors, etc. All these aspects influence the values of RLGC. All the quantities R, L, G and C, these are proportional to length of the line, and unless measured and quoted per unit length basis, they are meaningless because these are distributed parameters, not lumped ones. Now, a brief over the meaning of primary constants. R. First we consider R. What is this R? R represents the resistance of the conductors that are there in the line. Line may be consisting of 2 conductors, 3 conductors, 4 conductors, 5 conductors, and each conductor must be having some resistance. R is resistance of all those conductors in an unit length of the line. So, the line is made up of 2 or more conductors, and each conductor possesses certain amount of resistance because of their non-infinite conductivity. Usually, the conductors of the line are made with good conductors or with conductors having conductivity very large, but not infinity. So, they possess a certain amount of resistance. Usually, it is small, but it is not zero. R represents that resistance. The parameter R represents the sum total of resistance of the conductors in the line of 1 unit length. L represents inductance in a unit length of the line. When current flows through a conductor of the line, it sets up its own magnetic flux. This flux links the very current because of which it exists, resulting in certain amount of self-inductance. It is called internal inductance. This inductance per unit length is the sum of self-inductances of all the conductors in the line, and it is denoted by parameter L. G. In the line, the conductors are separated by a dielectric material. It is not a perfect dielectric. Perfect dielectric is one for which sigma conductivity is 0, but perfect dielectrics or sigma is 0. That type of things are not available in reality. Therefore, all the dielectrics that we encounter or that are used as insulators between the conductors in a line, they have certain amount of conductance. It is not 0. So they are actually imperfect dielectrics. As a result of this imperfection, there exists some leakage currents between the conductors. This leakage and resulting conductance per unit length. These leakage currents are modeled by assuming certain amount of conductance between the conductors. That conductance is denoted by parameter G. See, when the line is charged, the conductors separated by dielectric material get charged to different voltages, resulting in a capacitive effect. This parameter C represents all the capacitances of line in a unit length. Before going further, let us try to have some idea regarding RLGC. Let us consider a 2-conductor transmission line. This is a line with 2 conductors. Here 2 conductors are there. Each conductor, it possesses certain amount of resistance. So what is the resistance per unit length of the line? That is R. So in this R, what we have is resistance of conductor 1 per unit length plus resistance of conductor 2 per unit length. These two resistances, when you add, you will be getting capital R. Resistance of the line per unit length, primary constant R. Similarly, inductance. This conductor will be having certain inductance. It is called internal inductance. This fellow also will be having certain inductance. It is also called internal inductance. Per unit length, this fellow possesses certain amount. Per unit length, this conductor also possesses a certain amount. If you add these two inductances, you will be getting inductance of the line per unit length. That inductance represents your L. These two conductors, they are separated by a dielectric material. Usually this dielectric is air. Sometimes it may be some dielectric material too. Now, this dielectric is not perfect. Perfect dielectric is one for which sigma is 0. Sigma equal to 0 is not achievable in practice. So because of this non-zero conductivity nature of dielectric, what happens? Certain currents flow from one conductor to another conductor. These currents are called leakage currents. If sigma is 0, it is perfect dielectric. No current can flow, but it is not so. So currents flow. The flow of these currents, they are modeled by assuming certain amount of conductance between the conductors. That conductivity is denoted by G per unit length of the line. Now see, when the line is working in working condition, one fellow will be at one potential, let us say negative, another fellow will be another potential, conductor is another potential, positive. So we have two conductors separated at different potentials, separated by dielectric. It is similar to a capacitor. So it has certain amount of, exhibits certain amount of capacitance. Per unit length, what is the capacitance? That is indicated, or that is modeled through the parameter C. How primary constants of the line are computed in general? This is the procedure. C is obtained from electrostatics. For example, for a coaxial line, what is the capacitance? For a parallel wire line, what is the capacitance? Using the principles which are learned in electrostatics, one can compute C. Now G. Next, G is obtained by replacing epsilon by sigma in the expression of C. So C is available. In that expression, replace epsilon by conductivity, sigma, then you will be getting G. Next, L. How L is computed? L and C is always equal to mu epsilon. Now, C is available, mu epsilon, they are usually available. So L can be found within no time. Mu epsilon by C gives L. And R is obtained from the relation. Resistance is equal to length, cross-sectional area, conductivity. This is most general relation for resistance of a conductor. The conductor resistance is, it depends upon length, it depends upon cross-sectional area, it also depends upon conductivity. 1 or 2 points to remember. C and G vary very little with frequency. So they are almost constant, independent of frequency. R value varies with frequency because R value is affected by skin effect. What is a skin effect? See, the flow gets concentrated flow of charge. What is current? Current is flow of charge. This flow gets concentrated more and more towards the periphery of the conductor as the frequency of the current increases. Now, cross-sectional area, as flow is concentrated to periphery, what is happening is the area in which, cross-sectional area in which the current is concentrated, that area keep on decreasing. Once area is decreasing means resistance increases. So with increase in frequency, current is concentrated more and more. It moves more and more towards the periphery, resulting in reduction in area, resulting in increase in resistance. So that is the connection between skin effect and variation of R value. L also changes with frequency. Now here we consider coaxial line. Coaxial line consists of an inner conductor. Usually its radius is indicated by A. An outer conductor. Inner radius of outer conductor is indicated by B. Outer radius of outer conductor is by C. Conductor's conductivity by sigma C. And the dielectric constants are epsilon prime, mu, sigma. So this is the structure: inner conductor, outer conductor separated by dielectric. They're ready. ABC, conductivity of the conductors sigma c, dielectric constants are epsilon prime, mu sigma. This is general situation. With respect to this structure, primary constants of the coaxial line, they can be found in this manner. C equal to 2 pi epsilon prime by natural logarithm B by A. This relation is derived in electrostatics. While studying capacitance in electrostatics, you might have come across this relation. Now, by replacing epsilon prime by sigma, you have expression for conductivity, G. So, these two relations, as already mentioned, C and G vary very little with frequency. So, these are valid both at low frequencies as well as high frequencies. When it comes to inductance, L is mu by 4 pi natural logarithm B by A. So this relation is obtained from mu epsilon equal to LC. How this relation has come into being? The velocity of the wave over the line, velocity of the signal over the line is 1 by root LC. This is transmission line theory. From electromagnetic field theory, it has been found that it is equal to root mu epsilon. So these two are equal. So LC becomes mu epsilon. C is available. Mu epsilon, they are known. So L can be found within no time. This is the expression. This is as far as high frequency is concerned. Low frequency, certain other things also come into being. All those things we have to add. LA internal, LBC internal. Internal means internal conductance. Internal conductance. All these things we have to add to this fellow. Similarly, when it comes to our resistance, it is 1 by 2 pi delta sigma c 1 by a 1 by b. This is at high frequencies. R equal to 1 by pi sigma c 1 by a square plus 1 by c square minus b square. This is at low frequencies. What is delta? It is skin depth or depth of penetration. Sigma c is conductivity of the conductor. So this is high frequency, this is low frequency. Now we consider primary constants of parallel wire line. The structure is like this, two conductors. Here we consider circular cross-section conductors, radius A, and they are separated by certain distance D. Conductivity again indicated by sigma C. The constants of the dielectric are epsilon prime, mu, sigma. Now with respect to this configuration, what are primary constants? C. C is given by pi epsilon prime by cos H inverse D by 2A. This is from electrostatics. Replacing epsilon prime by sigma, we have G. By using the relation mu epsilon equal to LC. This is L, high frequency, this is low frequency. When we are at low frequencies, a new factor comes into being. That factor also we have to consider. When we consider this thing comes into picture. Resistance is given by 1 by pi A delta sigma C, high frequency. At low frequencies, this one. Okay. Now that is as far as primary constants of the line is concerned. Now we move to secondary constants. As already mentioned, these are two in number. One is characteristic impedance, another is propagation constant. Characteristic impedance has several definitions. They are same. If you move a little bit deeper into them, we can find them same. Let us first see the definitions. Definition 1. It is the impedance measured at the input terminals of the line when its length is extended to infinity. See, there is a line. What is characteristic impedance of this line? It is defined as input impedance of this line when it is extended to infinity. Another definition is there. It is equal to the terminating impedance of the line, which can give an impedance equal to terminating impedance. See, this is the line. You consider certain impedance, terminating impedance, call it ZL or ZT. Characteristic impedance is terminating impedance of the line when it gives an input impedance equal to terminating impedance. This is another definition. Mathematically, Z0 is Vs by Is. Input impedance is input voltage or sending end voltage, sending end current. Input current is also called designated as Is, input voltage by Vs. So Vs by Is is input impedance. This input impedance becomes characteristic impedance when length is extended to infinity or when ZL is Z0. Here Vs and Is are input voltage and currents when the line is extended to infinity or when the line is terminated over characteristic impedance, Ca. Listen, second definition says characteristic impedance is the terminating impedance that is able to give an input impedance equal to terminating impedance. So input impedance becomes terminating impedance, or characteristic impedance becomes equal to terminating impedance when input impedance is terminating impedance. So that aspect is put in mathematical form in this relation. Here is shown the definitions. Input impedance, Z in Vs by Is, this is Vs, this is Is, input impedance, this is finite line. This input impedance becomes characteristic impedance when the line is extended to infinity. This is one way, one definition. Another definition is if you terminate certain impedance, of course, this and if this impedance is able to give same input impedance, same impedance equal to terminating impedance, then that impedance is characteristic impedance. It means Zn becomes characteristic impedance, ZL also becomes characteristic impedance. Another definition is also there. It is the ratio of voltage amplitude to current amplitude for each of the individual traveling waves with an additional minus sign in case of reflected wave. So what he says is, this is the line, the source is connected here. So a wave starts traveling. This is called forward wave. Of course, when termination is different from characteristic impedance, reflected wave also exists. Now, definition is characteristic impedance of the line is consider forward traveling wave. In this wave, there exists voltage, there exists current. V to I ratio in this wave is characteristic impedance. You can define characteristic impedance with respect to reflected wave also. In such case, it is a negative of voltage in the reflected wave by current in the reflected wave. Ci in general is a complex quantity. Units are ohms. Characteristic impedance is complex. In case of lossless line for which R equal to 0 equal to G, see, lossless line is one for which R is 0 and G also is 0. In such case, it is pure real. Characteristic impedance is pure real. Usually it is denoted by bold face times New Roman letter and its magnitude by light face italic letter. The Ci of a line Z0 has been defined in several different ways, but equivalent ways. All these definitions give same value when you apply these definitions to a line. It is related because these are all equivalent. These are all same. If you go deep inside, you can find they are all same. Outwardly, they may appear to be different. Words may appear the definitions may be having different words, but deep inside they are one. It is related to primary constants of the line through this relation. Z0 is square root of R plus J omega L by G plus J omega C. It is sometimes expressed as square root of Zy. In the above, Z is used to denote series impedance R plus J omega L. Y is used to denote shunt admittance. See R plus J omega L instead of R plus J omega L. It is convenient to write some, it is impedance, so convenient to write Z. It is complex, that's why boldface. Instead of G plus J omega C, it is convenient to write Y because it is admittance. So what is Z? Z is R plus J omega. What is Y? It is G plus J omega C. In case of coaxial line working at high frequencies, characteristic impedance is, it can be found. At high frequencies, it is root L by C. Okay. Z0 in general, when a line is working at high frequencies, Z0 becomes L by C, root L by C. It can be found equal to 1 by 2 pi root mu by epsilon prime natural logarithm V by A. Typical values of this parameter are 50, 75, 125. In Bell Labs, it has been found maximum power handling is achieved at 30 ohms. Highest voltage operation is obtained at 60 ohms and low attenuation is obtained at 77 ohms for a coaxial line. Now let us consider two-wire parallel line. At high frequencies, characteristic impedance is square root of L by C equal to 1 by pi root mu by epsilon prime cos H inverse D by 2A. How this expression has come? This expression has come from this expression. How this expression has come? From the definition. You see Z0 equal to square root of R plus J omega L by G plus J omega C. Now bring J omega out, R by J omega. This is G by J omega. Now as omega is very high, this term, first term becomes 0, this fellow becomes 0, you are left with L by C. So at high frequencies, characteristic impedance is always root L by C, pure real quantity. It is independent of line. It may be, see, this relation is quite common. Any type of line, this is the story. At high frequencies, it is always equal to L by C. But we are having expressions for L and C, primary constants, for coaxial line, for two-wire line and all that. So substitute those expressions, you will be getting this. Another constant pertaining to secondary constants is propagation constant. It is indicated by gamma. It is a complex. So real part, imaginary part. Real part is known as attenuation constant. Imaginary part is called phase shift constant. Units of real part is Nepers per meter. Units of this imaginary part phase shift constant is radians per meter. The attenuation constant of finite length line can be defined as the natural logarithm of magnitude of the ratio of the sending end current or voltage to receiving end and current voltage when these currents are at a unit distance apart after the line over the line after it is extended to infinity or terminated on its characteristic impedance. So what does it mean? Here is a line. Now source is connected here, some load is here, okay. So over the line you can find at a point, let us say consider a point, another point, 1 meter apart, unit distance apart. Now the line is in working condition, so there exists certain current here, there exists certain current here also, there exists certain voltage here, there exists certain voltage here also. Let us call voltage and current here as VSIS, let us call voltage and current here as VRIR. Now before taking the measurements of currents and voltages, extend it to infinity, extend the line to infinity. Now consider IS, VS, IR, VR. By definition, alpha is natural logarithm IS by IR or natural logarithm VS by VR. Of course, after you extending the line to infinity, or see, in practice, in reality, extending line to infinity is impossible. But we can simulate this extension by replacing the load with its characteristic impedance. So that is the point. So by extending the line to infinity or replacing load by characteristic impedance, then we have to consider ratio IS by AR, VS by VR. It gives you attenuation. Units are Nepers per meter. Now phase shift constant, it is defined as the phase difference between sending end current and receiving end currents when these currents are at unit distance apart on the line after it is extended to infinity. Same is the case. Previously, while defining attenuation constant, I have defined IS, IR, VS, VR after extending the line to infinity. These currents and voltages, these are phasors. They have certain phases. In terms of magnitudes, attenuation constant is defined. In terms of phases of these currents and voltages, beta is defined. You see, beta, by definition, it is IS. Angle of IS minus angle of IR, or angle of VS minus angle of VR. These two voltages and currents you have to consider after line is extended to infinity. Here IS and IR currents located at a unit distance apart over the line, extended to infinity or terminated over its characteristic impedance. Note in these definitions, it is assumed that the line is uniform. So the definitions. If it is non-uniform, things are different. R varies from point to point when the line is not uniform. R, L, G, C, everything varies. Hence, Z naught and gamma also varies. Now regarding propagation constant. Hence, the propagation constant in terms of currents at unit distance apart over the line is, so this is alpha, this is beta. So this is in terms of currents, and below you have in terms of voltages. It can be shown PC is related to primary constants. That relation is root ZY equal to square root of R plus J omega L multiplied by G plus J omega. See, here it is quite pertinent to recollect. Z naught is square root of R plus J omega L by G plus J omega C. That is Z naught. That is Z naught. Whereas gamma is R plus J omega L multiplied by G plus J omega C under square root. So division of the factors give characteristic impedance, whereas multiplication gives you propagation constant. Units of propagation constants are per meter. Now, how to get secondary constants when primary constants are given? The relations that are used to get secondary constants from primary constants, they are enumerated here. They are given here. Suppose R is given, L is given, C is given, G is given. These are primary constants. Frequency of operation is given. Now substitute to find Z naught. If division is done, then it is Z naught. If multiplication is done, then you will be getting propagation constant. Real part of this fellow gives you alpha. Imaginary part gives you beta. Actually, here is given some lengthy expressions. These expressions one can have by doing some complex number algebra relations. You have to divide it into real and imaginary parts. Real part is alpha, imaginary part is beta. Then we will be getting these relations. Anyway, the purpose of this slide is how one can arrive at Z0 and gamma when primary constants are given. These are the relations one can use. Or if you are asked to find out alpha and beta, you can find from primary constants. In these relations, are simplest way is simply find out gamma. Real part of it is alpha, imaginary part of it becomes beta. Now sometimes we are required to find out primary constants when secondary constants are given. For that, what you need to do is consider the product of secondary constants. Multiply gamma with Z0. Then what you get is R plus J omega. If you divide gamma by Z0, you will be getting G plus J omega C. So gamma is given, Z0 is given. Simply multiply. What you have is R plus J omega. So real part of that product is simply R. Imaginary part becomes omega L. Frequency is given. Then if you divide the imaginary part of the product by omega, you will be getting L. Same is the case with gamma by Z0. You will be getting G plus J omega C. Real part straight away gives you G. By dividing the imaginary part with omega, we will be getting capacitance. These relations suggest a way by which one can determine primary constants of the line when values of secondary constants are known. Now we consider actual models of transmission lines. Here is a model. Model is called equivalent circuit. A beautiful name for model is equivalent circuit. Here you can find in the equivalent circuit several sections. In fact, these sections go like anything. The sections, the number of sections in the equivalent circuit is equal to the number of unit lengths in the line. Each section you see here, each section consists of a series of LR and a parallel GC. LR, GC, LR, GC. L is LR, GC, these are primary constants. So this equivalent circuit is in terms of primary constants of the line, and this is general line. General in the sense it is loss line. Losses are there. Below in B you can find another equivalent circuit. Actually this equivalent circuit pertains to lossless line. Notice here R is absent, G is also absent. Both are absent. So moving further, note R and G. These are the two parameters which are there to take into account the losses that takes place in the line. When line is lossless, naturally R and G become 0. Another set of equivalent circuit is also in use. They are T equivalent circuit, pi equivalent circuit. These equivalent circuits are in terms of secondary constants. Previous ones are in terms of primary. Now these are in secondary constants. This is line length is L, characteristic impedance is Z0, gamma is propagation constant. Now its equivalent circuit, one equivalent circuit, it is called a T equivalent circuit. It appears like this. It has 3 arms. It is in the form of T, English letter T. In one arm you have Z0 tan H gamma L by 2. In another arm also parallel arm or inline arm, same impedance. Another impedance is also there. It is given by Z0 sin H gamma L. This is one equivalent circuit. It is in the form of T. That's why it is called T equivalent circuit. Another equivalent circuit is also there. It is in terms of pi. Here, that's why it is called pi equivalent circuit. In the legs, two impedances, equal impedances are there. Z0 by tan H gamma L by 2. In the roof, we have another impedance, Z0 sin H gamma L. So these are equivalent circuits. These are in terms of secondary constants. Depending upon the context, depending upon the requirement, one can use either primary constants or secondary constants to model the line. This is what I want to share regarding line constants for now.